finally, welcome to Supplement 101. So for those of you who have, I'm like echoing in this thing. Do you guys care if I take it off and bring it here? All right, I'm like echoing in my head. Thank you, Lord. All right. So if you've been to one of the workshops that we've held in the office before, either virtually on our Zoom or here in person, you know that I like to get on soapboxes. Anybody know that? Colleen, you know that. You've been to workshops. Yeah, I like to get on soapboxes. I like to go off on tangents. So I usually refuse to go off on PowerPoint at all because I like to do that. And I kind of take artistic license, being that this is my office. So I do that from time to time. And I probably will be doing that today from time to time. But before we get into kind of the meat of the discussion, I want to talk a little bit about what this is meant to do, what this is not meant to do, what we're going to cover, what kind of we're not going to cover, and the reason that I've decided to put on a Supplement 101 workshop. So what we're not going to cover first, we're not going to be covering I'm not going to be going over a ton of supplements, right? There are hundreds and hundreds and thousands of supplements that are out there on the market. I'm sure a lot of them have great utility. I think a lot of them are probably just, you know, money, marketing, good advertising, people trying to make a buck. So, and to be honest, with my philosophy, I'm going to be getting into it in a little bit, but my philosophy behind supplementation is to use supplements as a supplement to an already healthy diet. And there are a few exceptions to that, but I don't believe in taking handfuls of pills every single day. There's a really good book that's called When is a Potato a Pill? And the purpose of this book is saying that, you know, instead of maybe taking a pharmaceutical intervention, that some people will look towards more natural means to do the same thing as pharmaceuticals, right? Does that make sense? That's not the way that I like to look at supplementation. There is some merit in that from time to time, depending on what the reason is that we're trying to, or what the reason we're using it for. But for the most part, my goal for supplementation, and the reason I like to talk about it and that I do supplementation, is to be proactive and to be prepared. I think prepared is the better word. I want my body to be prepared for whatever comes its way, potentially in health challenges, but also just so that my body has all of the ingredients that it needs to be able to function to the best of its ability. Whenever we look up the definition of health, if you look that up anywhere, you're going to find, you know, probably all sorts of definitions, but the best definition that I've ever read when it comes to health is simply this: health equals optimal function of the body and the mind. That's the best definition that I've ever read. Health is optimal function of the body and the mind. So health has nothing to do with symptoms or sickness or disease or the lack thereof. Health is optimal function, and our body needs certain things to be able to function well. Our body needs, well, we'll start with chiropractic. What is the purpose of chiropractic in a nutshell? Is to allow proper nerve supply, right? Allow proper nerve supply because your brain controls all function in your body. It does so by sending signals through the spinal cord out the nerves to every single cell, tissue, and organ. So the purpose of chiropractic, and yes, to be able to help alleviate some symptoms that may result of improper nerve supply or improper spinal position. But the bigger reason is to allow proper function through proper nerve supply. We need certain nutrients. Our body needs certain nutrients to be able to function appropriately. So we need good nutrition, and we need to avoid bad nutrition because bad nutrition can take away nutrients just about as easily or it can make it more difficult. Even if you have the proper nutrients, your body may not be able to utilize them as easily if you have poor nutrition. Yeah, I think I talked my way in a circle, but you get the point there. Exercise, right? Exercise is going to allow for proper hormones in a lot of respects. It also allows for proper energy pathways and bringing oxygen into the body. Minimizing toxins, because toxins can prevent your body from being able to function appropriately. So we need to avoid toxins, and when appropriate, to be able to detox the full toxins out of the body. And we need to mental stress or mindset, right? The ability for our mind to influence the overall function of our body, both positively and negatively. So those are what we call the 5 essentials, right? The 5 essentials of health. And the goal is to be able to give your body everything it needs to function appropriately, remove everything your body doesn't need that will interfere with normal function of your body. And whenever we do that, the natural state is health, is optimal function. And that's how I like to talk about supplements. Now, the reason that I decided to hold this workshop is because I think all of you know that I recently, myself and my family, had COVID-19. Yes, everybody knew that? Shaking head, yeah. So I came into contact with someone who, unbeknownst to him, was a carrier, and then I myself became infected with the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And yeah, so now we're immune, but that's another aspect. That's another point we're not going to get into tonight. But the reason that I like to bring this up and why this sparked me deciding to do this workshop is because I've heard a number of times, both here in the office from patients who are, well-meaning when they said this, I'm sure, but as well as people outside of the office. They use the word luck. They use the word luck. Now, personally, just giving you my personal experience, I had practically no symptoms, pretty much asymptomatic. I had a little bit of a cold. I did lose my taste and my smell. My wife had a less than 1 day fever, lost her taste and her smell. My son had a less than a 1 day fever, was climbing on top of me the next day, just as he normally does. And my daughter, she had a little bit of cold symptoms. So, she was in the household with the rest of us. So just assuming we were all exposed, right? Now, some people would say that we were lucky that it was so mild for us. And this really sparked this workshop, that it wasn't luck, right? That I forget what the quote is and who said it, but something about luck is when chance meets, or opportunity meets preparation, right? So the opportunity was we got exposed, right? So that was the opportunity. Not saying I wanted to get exposed, not saying it's a good thing per se, but that was the opportunity. The preparation was that my body was ready to take on this virus because of what I do to my body on a day in and day out basis, and including what we do to our bodies on a day in and day out basis. Part of that is through supplementation. Right? Now, certain supplements are very, 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 very beneficial to our immune system. Does everybody know that? You can probably name me a couple. We've got 4 people in this room. Can anybody name me what are some important supplements, or let me not say supplements, what are some important vitamins, minerals, nutrients for your immune system? And this isn't a COVID talk. This isn't an immune system talk. I promise you. This is just, we're getting into it, all right? So what are some important things for our immune system?
Vitamin C.
Vitamin C. All right. I think everybody knows vitamin C. If you start getting a cold, take that vitamin C, and it decreases the intensity, severity of the cold. Yeah, I think everybody knows that. Well documented. Hundreds, if not thousands, of studies. If you go onto PubMed.gov, PubMed is a huge database that pretty much has every single study that's ever been done. It's amazing. Go on there, type in vitamin C and immune system. You're going to get hundreds, if not thousands, of results. Tons of studies, well documented. Good one. Anybody else? Any other nutrients? What? Omega-3s can be very important for health. And the reason that it can be isn't through a direct relationship with the immune system. I mean, I'm sure there are some. The big one is because of anti-inflammatory effects. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. Not one that I'm thinking of, but yeah, certainly it's going to help with the immune system as well. Any other?
What about zinc?
Zinc is huge. Again, just like vitamin C, zinc is well documented in the effects that it has on the immune system, both as an immune system modulator, but it's also a cofactor. So a cofactor is something that allows our body, or the enzymes in our body, to function better. And zinc actually helps our body to produce white blood cells quicker. Right? So if you have an infection, your body needs to produce more white blood cells. It needs the zinc there to be able to do that. So you have to have the nutrients for your body to do what it needs to do. Another big one, and this is probably the biggest one, and this is overall for health in general, for overall health effects, and it's one of the top supplements that I recommend, probably actually the top supplement I recommend everybody take, every man, woman, child, everyone take.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D. Vitamin D, your immune cells actually have receptors on them. You want to know how sometimes how easy physiology and anatomy is? Your immune systems actually have receptors on them called vitamin D receptors. How about that? And then your body needs these vitamin D, or the immune cells need the vitamin D to attach to the vitamin D receptors for them to be able to work appropriately. We need vitamin D in order for our immune systems to work. Here's the shame, and this is the reason that I bring this up, right? If we watch the fear TV that we have today, you go on the news right now, and you watch the news for an entire week. How many times are you going to hear about the importance of vitamin D, vitamin C, and zinc on your immune system? Watching the news or watching any TV at all? You don't, right? But I can tell you, I mean, there is a lot of, on all those supplements, again, you go on a PubMed, you look up the effects of those on the immune system, not necessarily COVID, just the immune system, hundreds to thousands of articles, well documented the effects of them. I have 3 studies right here, and each one of these studies is on each one, and this has to do with COVID. Here's a study on vitamin D. So they took people that were going to the hospital. Now, some of them were going because they had COVID symptoms. Some of them were going for unrelated things, but they checked everybody, as I'm sure you know, for vitamin or for COVID. They're going to assess everybody for COVID. And they found, obviously, there was a big group of people who were symptomatic. They had COVID-19 symptoms. And then there was asymptomatic people that were there for other reasons. They weren't there for COVID, they were there for different reasons. And they looked at, they had them, sign off. They agreed to be a part of the study, and they looked at their vitamin D levels. The people who went there and they had COVID but no symptoms had twice as high of vitamin D as the people who were there who had symptoms, right? So people who had no symptoms, their vitamin D levels were twice as high as the people who had no symptoms. So reading a study like that, now this isn't it's not a randomized control study. So this is a correlation. It's not a causation. We can't say per se that the lack of vitamin D is causing, but knowing what we know, that vitamin D is important for immune health, understanding these people have no symptoms, they have a lot good vitamin D levels. These people have a lot of symptoms, they have very low vitamin D. What should be the logical conclusion of this? That vitamin D helps your immune system and will help prevent, if you were to come into contact with somebody who is infected, right? Sure, you may get that inside of you as well, but you're less likely to develop the symptoms that are going to kill you, right? Here's another study, and this one is on zinc, and it's showing that the zinc increases the T cell and the B cell production in people who have been exposed, who have coronavirus, that they have more immune cells in them than people, and they measured the zinc levels. So people who have adequate zinc levels have more immune cells in their body than people who don't have adequate zinc levels, right? So again, this is a post study. This is done after the people had the coronavirus. However, what should be the logical assumption based off of this? That zinc helps prevent the symptoms, COVID-19 symptoms, right? You can come in contact with it, but it will help prevent the symptoms. Here's another study, and this one's on vitamin C levels. And it's showing that kind of similar to the vitamin D, is that when people are exposed and when they are in active phase of the virus is replicating in their body, they show that the vitamin C levels go down. Now, this study is a little bit different. They don't have 2 different groups showing this group is symptomatic, this group is asymptomatic, this asymptomatic has higher levels. Actually, what they show is across the board that the vitamin C levels go down as the infection progresses. The reason for that is because of what vitamin C does. Vitamin C is a very important antioxidant for your immune cells. And one of the things it does is your immune cells produce certain chemicals whenever they're fighting off a virus or a bacteria or some other pathogen. They produce these chemicals and they release them into your bloodstream. And the purpose of these chemicals is to damage the pathogen or the disease-causing variant. You got me? However, the vitamin C helps prevent those chemicals from damaging your own body. right? So the vitamin C neutralizes those things, but when it neutralizes those chemicals, then the vitamin C goes away. So what do we need more of? We need more vitamin C. So if you get, let's say that you have absolutely, and we're going to just use the common cold. Let's say you have no symptoms one day, completely fine. You eat a great diet. You don't supplement with vitamin C, but you have a great diet. And let's say you have adequate levels of vitamin C. Then you're exposed to the rhinovirus, the coronavirus. There's a lot of viruses that cause the common cold. Not SARS-CoV-2, other coronaviruses. So you're exposed to that. Then that virus starts to replicate in your body. And then the vitamin C that you had in your body gets used up, right? So what is going to be beneficial for you during that time? To take more vitamin C, right? So these, and I could show you, I've so many studies that I've read on supplements and the effects of those on the immune system, in particular on SARS-CoV-2. And there's a lot of studies in the works right now. What's a shame is that these things aren't mainstream, right? That people don't know all of these beneficial, very natural, very inexpensive, very easy to do, easy to take, and that these things can help us at this time, this crazy time in our life. We don't hear about any of these things, right? So that's why I decided to do a Supplement 101 workshop, is to let you know the importance and how amazing your body is at doing exactly what God created it to do when we give it everything it needs to do so, right? Whenever we are prepared. That's the purpose of this workshop, is to be prepared, to give your body the building blocks to do what it needs to do. All right, so I think that's the only soapbox, but I can't promise you guys anything. All right, so again, not lucky, prepared, prepare yourself. All right. So Supplement 101. So a couple of the goals that we have through this workshop today. One, I want to talk just a little bit about how supplementation started, kind of the beginnings of it, very briefly. Different approaches and philosophies to supplementation. I already covered some of those, but I'll go over it a little bit more. Macro versus micronutrients and what that means. Why should we supplement? What should we supplement with? Who should supplement? Some common deficiencies if we don't have enough of certain nutrients in our diet, vitamins and minerals for the most part. For the most part, I'm going to be talking about vitamins and minerals tonight. I'll touch on a little bit of some other things. If anybody has questions at the end, please ask me anything you got. Again, I don't know everything there is to know about supplements because I don't put a lot of focus on, kind of obscure supplements. And the roles of important supplements or vitamins and minerals in our diet. So just a little bit about the history. So, I tried to do some research, dig up history on supplements, and, I found a lot of people talking about ancient, China and just ancient Asian cultures. And a lot of the herbs and a lot of, Oriental medicine and things of that sort that they use. I wouldn't really consider those to be supplements. I would say that's, Oriental medicine, or politically correct way to say that. I think there's a different way to say that now. I'm sorry if anybody's offended. That's the way I know it's called. So I don't really consider that a supplement. Then next, I found a lot to do with Egypt. And Egypt, actually pretty cool. So they found that people were started getting symptoms of scurvy, vitamin C deficiency. And then they somehow came to the realization that they were deficient, or they didn't have enough of something. They didn't know what it was. They didn't know what vitamin C was. So they started giving them certain foods. And of course, we know this from, you remember stories back when you were in elementary school of the sailors, coming over the Atlantic, and they didn't have enough vitamin C, and they would start to get bleeding in the gums and from various other places, and it was another sign of scurvy. Again, not so much supplementation, more important on vitamin deficiency. But supplementation really started, or vitamins really started from a scientist in Poland back in the mid to late 1800s. So the scientist back, the Polish army was fed rations of rice. Now, they took the bran off of the rice. So they pretty much gave the army white rice. And that's basically just about all they were eating was white rice. And they were also, and a lot of the soldiers started to get sick. They were getting very lethargic, fatigued, and I think a couple of them even died. And they had the scientists try to figure out what's going on with the military, Polish military. And they realized that there were also, at the same time, a bunch of chickens. And these chickens, I think, belonged to the military. And the chickens were getting really sick as well. Now, the chickens were also being fed the white rice. Now, somebody comes along and they say, stop feeding the chickens the military ration. So they take the chickens off of the white rice and the chickens recover. So somehow the scientist sees this or comes to the realization the chickens were eating the rice, the chickens got sick, the military's eating the rice, they're getting sick, the chickens came off of the rice, and then the chickens got better. So there's something has to do with the rice that's getting the people sick. And the chickens, they were still giving them rice, but they were giving them with the bran. So he realized that it was the bran, which is the outside of the rice, which was the deficiency, not having that was getting everybody sick. So he actually took the outside of the bran, he powdered it, and he started giving that powder to the people in the military. And they started to recover from this condition, this lethargy. And what was actually deficient, they had a condition we're going to go over a little later very briefly called beriberi, which is a thiamine deficiency. They were deficient in a nutrient, in a B vitamin that was called thiamine. And unbeknownst to him, he didn't know it was thiamine, but this guy started giving them thiamine in this powdered form. And that was the first supplement. And after that, it sort of took off. A lot of people started researching more nutrients and different, things that were in foods that could lead to different problems. So that's the history of supplements. Now, why I wanted to go over the history a little bit. Just listening to that story, all right, so they weren't getting enough of this nutrient. So the guy started giving them the nutrient in a powdered form and they recovered. Right? What is another option that he could have done instead of giving them this powdered nutrient? Just give them the rice, right? Give them the rice and they would have recovered just as well. Give them the actual food and they would have been fine. Stop taking the nutrients away from the food, right? Did you know this is actually, if you read a loaf of bread, like what does it say on there? What is like the first thing? Enriched. Right? Enriched wheat flour. Do you know what that means? That means they took all the nutrients out of the flour and then they put some nutrients, a little bit of nutrients back into the flour. And the reason that they do that is it helps preserve the shelf life. It keeps it longer or more shelf stable, right? So they enrich it, right? So instead of giving these people a supplement, all you have to do is just give the people the darn rice in the first place. That would have done the job. And really, when it comes down to it, I talked a little bit about, the different aspects or different ways that we can use supplements. And that's kind of my next slide here is a vitalistic way or a mechanistic way. Now, these are different philosophies or different approaches towards health. So vitalistic is how I just talked about how the body works in health, right? Vitalistic is this, that our body knows how to work. Our body knows how to heal. Our body knows how to function. Give it everything it needs, take away what is interfering with that function. Your body's going to do exactly what it was designed to do to the best of its levels. Now, if there's something in someone's past that damaged their body, they may not be able to recover that. That may be what we call a limitation of matter. They may literally change the matter in the body, and we can't go back in time. We can't recover from it. But if we start from the beginning doing that, the body will do exactly what it needs to do. And that includes nutrients. Give the body the nutrients, right? Then it's going to be able to use those nutrients the way that it wants to use them to be able to allow healthy expression of life in the body. Mechanistic is very different. So mechanistic is sort of a medical mindset that I have X condition, this Y pharmaceutical product, supplement, food source will help to treat X condition. So if somebody has X condition, I give them Y and then they improve, right? And then once they improve, then they no longer need Y because they no longer have X condition. Make sense? Right? That is mechanistic, or also what we call allopathy. It's treatment of a part of the body rather than treating it as the whole. There is a time when that's appropriate for supplementation. There's absolutely a time when I'm going to give you an example of when that can be very appropriate. If somebody injures their tissues, they injure themselves, they may want to reduce some of the inflammation in their body, or if they have to, maybe not injury, but let's say somebody has to take a certain medication, right, for whatever reason, and that medication causes inflammation. They might want to counteract that by reducing the inflammation in a natural way. And hopefully it's only temporary and we fix whatever was causing the initial problem in the first place, right? So a certain nutrient called curcumin. So curcumin is a very potent anti-inflammatory. Curcumin and curcuminoids are the active, or one of the active ingredients in turmeric, which is a spice commonly used in like Indian cooking, makes things yellow, mustard, etc. So curcumin is a very potent anti-inflammatory. I don't think that people need to take high dose or should take high dose curcumin indefinitely, but it can be very beneficial to reduce inflammation temporarily to be able to allow the body to heal appropriately and then not have to take it anymore. So again, there's a time and a place. For me, whenever we were, dealing with COVID-19, there's certain supplements that I take all the time, and I actually increase the dosages of because of this time in our life. I actually increase the dosage of vitamin C every single winter, just because we're going to be exposed to more, viruses. And this is not just COVID-19. I do this every single year. I increase I start taking vitamin C. I don't take it during the summer. I don't take it whenever, we're not in those seasons. So I start taking vitamin C and I increase my dose of vitamin D. I always take vitamin D. I think every single man, woman, and child should take vitamin D. It's very important. And we don't get adequate levels through our lifestyle or through our food supply. Zinc is not something I take. I don't take zinc. Even if I have a cold, generally I don't take zinc. I could, and it probably would help me recover quicker, but generally I just don't. When I had COVID, I did take zinc. I took it because I knew that at that time, I wanted to make absolutely certain that my immune system had everything that it needed to be able to fight it off as quick and easy as possible, and to keep me healthy. So again, time and a place for certain things, but more looking at it from a vitalistic approach. Let's give our body the building blocks, let it do the rest. All right, so first, I'm going to talk just briefly about nutrition. Now, if you have never been to a Nutrition 101, we're going to put one up for next month. We're going to be changing the boards since the boards in the office are all Supplement 101. We're going to be doing another Nutrition 101. So I'm not going to be going over in-depth nutrition. Definitely come to the Nutrition 101 workshop. If you've been in the past, come to another one or zoom in on another one. Generally, I get new soapboxes that I go on, whether you like it or you don't like it. But I kind of go with the flow on that. I don't use PowerPoint, so nothing to rein me in. But again, it's important to talk about nutrition because that's where the majority of these vitamins, nutrients, things that we can get in a supplemental form, that's where they should come from. So the first thing that we should do is to make sure we have a good diet, good nutrition, right? So vary our diet. So the most important, in a nutshell, the best way to make sure that you have good diet with good nutrients is to only shop, or as much as possible, only shop the perimeter of the grocery store. Because the perimeter of the grocery store is where you're going to buy things that have one ingredient. Broccoli is broccoli, right? A steak is a steak. Eggs are eggs. Those things are usually on the perimeter. And shopping that way, avoiding processed foods, is going to help to avoid something called anti-nutrients. Certain foods have anti-nutrients in them. And what anti-nutrient means is it's literally preventing your body from using some of the nutrients that you eat. It actually, some of them can bind to the nutrients and then you excrete it. So maybe you're getting plenty of good minerals, good vitamins, but your body gets rid of them because of these anti-nutrients. Some of them, they just block the entrance of them into your body. And some of them can actually use those to be able to do damaging effects. So if you're avoiding processed foods, for the most part, you're going to avoid those anti-nutrients. So perimeter of the grocery store, optimize your nutrient content, right? So to optimize, it's hard to read. If anybody wants this PowerPoint, by the way, let me know in the office and I'd be happy to send it to you. I know you guys, I'm sure, can't read it there on the Zoom. So we want to optimize the nutrients that we take in. So a couple of things that we can do to do that: choose nutrient dense foods. So not all foods are created equal in terms of the nutrients that are in them. As an example, you can take romaine lettuce, or let's even go down the food chain, iceberg lettuce, right? Iceberg lettuce is pretty much water. It's pretty much water. Yes, it's a vegetable, right? It's good. You put some bacon and some healthy ranch on there, and get a Cobb salad going, delicious, right? But it's void of nutrients. There's nothing in there. So don't kid yourself, right? When you're eating it and we're saying, I'm eating a salad. You're eating water. You're eating water. Versus spinach. Spinach is incredibly dense in nutrients, and phytochemicals, and lots of good things for your body, right? So there's certain things that are better than others. So choose nutrient dense foods. Eat organic. And that's important for a couple of reasons when we eat organic. One is pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. Those things are very damaging to our body in and of themselves. But those things can also be anti-nutrients. They can prevent our body from being able to utilize the nutrients that we do get through our diet. In addition, whenever farms produce things organically, a lot of times they do something called crop rotation. Crop rotation. Have you heard of crop rotation before? Or sustainable farming is another way they call it. They change where they plant their crops. Yeah, and why don't other big companies do it? Is because it decreases the amount that they can produce, because they use one field one season and they plant everything, and then after that season, the next season, they don't use that field again. They use a different field. And the reasoning behind it is that by allowing this field to rest, giving it time, it's going to the minerals and the vitamins, it'll be able to be more dense with those minerals and vitamins. So that when they plant the foods again, where do the plants get their minerals and vitamins? They get it through the soil. And it has to be, and it gets there through rain, it gets there through water runoffs, it gets there through wind carrying, it gets there in a multitude of ways, but we have to give the soil time. That's usually only done in organic farming. So that's a great thing about organic. We need to eliminate trans fats and refined grains. Really grains, period. You'll learn about this in Nutrition 101. Grains really damage our body in many ways, So grains have something on them called phytates and lectins, which damage the permeability of the gut. It damages the gut lining, let me rephrase. It damages the gut lining, which increases permeability, which means that things that should not get into your bloodstream can now get into your bloodstream and cause all sorts of different issues, including different allergies, skin reactions, eczemas, autoimmune conditions, a lot of other problems, mental fog, lots of issues are caused by gut permeability, which was caused by grain. So reduce grains.
Same thing as leaky gut.
Leaky gut, gut permeability, leaky gut. Yeah, so grains will contribute to leaky gut. So not good. Avoid or eliminate alcohol. It's an anti-nutrient, prevents your body from being able to utilize certain things, and it actually shuts off certain enzymes in your body. I'm not going to say eliminate because I don't want to be a hypocrite, but maybe moderation. Moderation. Avoid or eliminate non-foods and processed foods. Already talked a lot about that. Great. So first, try to get it through foods. I'm going to talk a little bit macronutrients and micronutrients. All right, so we're going to start breaking down the foods that we do eat. So macronutrients, and this is what I talk about big time in Nutrition 101, so I'm not going to talk about it here, but macronutrients are proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and alcohol. those are the macronutrients. Alcohol is its own kind of nutrient because it has its own calories. So a lot of calories, let's see, from proteins and carbs are 4 calories per gram, fat gram, alcohol is 7 calories per gram. So it's kind of its own nutrient. So those are macronutrients. Micronutrients, so when we talk about the micros, that's what we're going to be talking a little bit more about. That's going to be your vitamins and your minerals are your micronutrients. So what's the difference between those? Let's see, I'm going to skip over that really quick. So minerals, what are minerals? Minerals are inorganic. They're things that you'll find on the periodic table. They're inorganic. They're not things that are coming from a organic material, plant source, whatever, what have you. As opposed to vitamins are from organic materials. So minerals generally, now this isn't 100%, a lot of times they're higher in animal products, whereas vitamins a lot of the times, not blanket, I can't say this blanket statement, are higher in plant products because vitamins are from organic foods. So we're going to skip over that, some deficiencies. All right, nutrition label. So this is something that's pretty important if you have a nutrition, and this also includes supplements, okay? So this includes things that actual food, but also supplements. Looking at the nutrition label, of course, and understanding how to read nutrition labels is really important. It's something that everybody should do, looking at the ingredients and seeing everything that's on there and knowing what's good, what's not good, what to avoid or what to look for. But specifically talking about the percentages that you see on the nutrition labels, those percentages are what we call the RDAs, or the recommended daily allowance. So that's what the experts said. Well, I shouldn't put that because they are experts. Just unfortunately, a lot of our experts are making decisions based off of soapbox we don't need to go down right now. Let's just say that sometimes they're not the best, and it's not really the best for your health. So those RDA percentages, right? You may see vitamin D. You're probably not going to see this in a food supply, but in a supplement, you may see vitamin D 100% RDA. Generally, for vitamin D, 100% is 400 international units of vitamin D. That is what our government has said is the RDA for adults for that particular vitamin. Vitamin D is not actually a vitamin, it's a hormone, but we call it vitamin D. Here's the problem, is vitamin D at 400 for an adult, that's pretty much just enough to prevent rickets. That's not enough for health. That's enough to avoid the disease that low vitamin D causes. Does that make sense? Vitamin D, 400 IUs, international units of vitamin D, is incredibly severely under what you need to be able to have sufficient blood levels of vitamin D. And that goes for all of the RDA values. That the RDAs, for the most part, that's what you need enough of to prevent you from getting the disease that a deficiency in that nutrient causes. So some of those deficiencies, I kind of skipped over this. If you have a deficiency in vitamin A, which is incredibly important for vision, you can have poor vision. There's not an actual fancy name for it. You can get poor vision or lose your vision. Vitamin B1, which is thiamine, that's one I already talked about a little bit. That's berry. So if you don't have enough thiamine, thiamine actually gets bigger to try to collect more iodine out of your blood. If you don't have enough iron, you can get anemia. You can get tired, lethargy, because your body's not able to carry oxygen around. So again, the RDAs, don't let them trick you. That's why I'm covering this, because you may see the RDA and you'll say, I've got all the vitamin A that I need. I've got all the vitamin D that I need. I've got all the vitamin. Why does this supplement say 300% of my recommended daily allowance? Isn't that a little excessive? And the answer is maybe, but also probably not. Probably not. In addition, a lot of the anti-nutrients will actually, let's say you did get whatever 100%, the anti-nutrients will take a lot of that away. So your body isn't going to be able to use 100% of that. All right, so moving on. So vitamins and minerals. So we're just going to talk, you know what? We're not going to talk about this. It's just a graph. I know you guys, again, you can't see it, but it's a graph that shows what food sources certain vitamins and minerals come from. Where can you get your vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C, etc.? Google it. Google it. If you want to know where I get vitamin D, go onto the Google and say, what foods have vitamin D? You don't really need me to talk about it right now. Very easy for you to do. All right, so what is the problem and why should we supplement? So we kind of hit on a couple of these. The first reason we should supplement is because as a whole, I'm not speaking for everybody, but as a whole, in the United States of America, we have poor diet, terrible diet, right? Everybody, would you agree with that as a country? This country has a terrible diet? Yes. So we have a terrible diet. And if you have a bad diet, you're not getting the nutrients your body needs, right? And again, I've said this on a video. Some of you guys may have seen it here in the office. You are what you eat. You are what you eat. I am not insulting you intentionally, maybe. I am what I eat. Everything I put into my body is what turns into the cells of my body. It's what turns into my hormones and what turns into my neurotransmitters. So the things you put in are the things that are going to make your cells and tissues. What are you putting into your body, right? We have to put the things in that we want our body to be made up of. So we have poor diet. It's energy dense, which means pretty much too much sugars. There's a lot of damaged fats, which causes a lot of inflammation. So we need to counteract that inflammation. And we don't want to do it from a pharmacology route, right? Again, time and a place, but we don't want to go down that road. If there's other ways to decrease inflammation via supplementation, that can be very efficacious, beneficial for our health. Processed foods, obviously, we eat too much of. Artificial sweeteners, which are very damaging to our body. It's also an anti-nutrient. All right, so our lifestyle and our body. So first, talking a little bit about genes. Now, I hate using genes as a scapegoat. A lot of times in our society, we like to blame things on our genes. And certainly we have the hand that we're dealt with. We've got the genes from mom, we got the genes from dad. And some of those genes are more likely to express themselves. Some of them aren't incredibly likely to express themselves. Now, genes, in a sense, are like light switches. They can be turned on and they can be turned off. So beneficial genes can be turned on. Bad genes can be turned off. Beneficial genes can be turned off. Bad genes can be turned off. And what turns on and off genes really is lifestyle, nutrition, stress. All of these things can turn on and off genes. So again, it comes down to living the better lifestyle is going to help us to not go down a road we don't want to go down when it comes to our genes. But we can't ignore it. We do have genes and they do impact our body and our health. Biological factors can affect nutrient, and I'm talking specifically in this about nutrients and nutrient absorption. Biological factors, meaning just, we could talk about a lot of different things. People with darker pigment, just as an example, they don't absorb, their body doesn't absorb the sunlight as well, so they don't make their own vitamin D as well. So they're more likely need more vitamin D supplementation. Someone who has fairer skin, obviously sun can be a little bit more damaging to them in various ways, but they're going to produce much more vitamin D through exposure to sunlight. So when you get exposed to sunlight, your body automatically starts to produce vitamin D in your skin. Again, it's a hormone, but we can supplement with it. So also biological factors, something called dysbiosis, which is abnormal bacteria in our gut. Bacteria is incredibly important for vitamin and mineral absorption. in a couple of different ways, but we need good bacteria in our body. You know, I like to joke that our body is literally, we are a walking petri dish. And what I mean by that is that we have more bacteria in our body than we have cells in our body, our cells. There's more bacteria in you than is you, your own cells. And that's not a bad thing. Bacteria are very good. They're good for us. We have a symbiotic relationship, meaning they help us and we help them. The problem comes whenever we have we have too much bacteria of certain kinds. We have other infections, or we take certain medications that can lead to bad bacterial levels, and that's called dysbiosis. So we want to avoid that. Lifestyle factors prevent proper nutrient absorption and utilization. So alcohol, smoking, inactivity, health conditions, medications, a lot of medications can cause nutrient deficiencies. So it's kind of important that if you're taking a medication, again, you do a little bit of your own research and hopefully you find a good source. Does this medication cause deficiencies or inhibit proper function of a certain vitamins or minerals or nutrients, right? And it's pretty easy to find. There's actually a website called drugs.com, tons of information on drugs. So you type in the drug and it can give you interactions of different drugs, and it can, including food interactions that it can potentially have. All right. So another reason that we need to, I'm going to use those words, definitely should and need to supplement is because something I already kind of touched on a little bit, that our food supply is just deficient. Even if you were to try to eat around the perimeter, eat good foods, avoid bad foods, our foods today do not have the minerals and the vitamins that they did 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50, 100 years ago. It just doesn't have, because of a lot of it's because of our farming practices. You know, we do a lot of farming that not even outside. I forget what they call it when they do farming inside and greenhousing, but there's another name for it. Anyway, we do a lot of farming practices that are meant to increase yield, increase crops, get more food onto the market, but that make the food deficient in vitamins and minerals, right? So we have low poor nutrients in our foods. Even if it's a good food, chances are it doesn't have the nutrients that it would have a long time ago. Pollution can really decrease the nutrient quality and lead to certain deleterious effects. Cooking and preparation, the way that we cook and prepare our foods potentially can damage the minerals and the vitamins that are in it. So in particular, microwave. We don't have, I know you guys are going to think I'm crazy probably, we don't have a microwave in my house. Can anybody give me a nod or raise your hand if you think I'm crazy? Anybody? No? Samantha doesn't have one? Samantha doesn't have one either. What about you, Colleen?
I only use it to heat water.
Oh, I'll use it to heat water. Great. So I know it's hard, right? You think of, and whenever we first were going through that process, how do we heat this or that? And we put it on the stovetop. That is really, it doesn't take all that much longer to be able to do. But microwaves can really, they damage a lot of the nutrient quality, the vitamins and the minerals. So can heating things in general at high heats. Naturally, if you eat it raw, you're going to be able to get the most out of your vitamins and minerals. If you're going to cook it or steam it, that's a pretty safe way to cook vegetables without damaging a lot of their vitamins and minerals. And a great thing to do is to use the water. If you do steam things, you can use the water. So if you're really extreme, you can drink it. That's pretty cool. But you can actually use, if you have your own garden, which we do at my house, obviously not right now, but we have our own garden. So we'll use that water and pour it in the garden. And that's pouring those minerals and the vitamins back into our soil so that when we replant in that soil or in that area, there's more vitamins and minerals that are there. Thank you. Yeah, I came up with that. Yeah, no, I didn't. All right, so I'm going to skip over nutrition because that is another discussion. All right, top nutritional deficiencies. All right, so these are the top things that we as a society the top deficiencies and certain nutrients, vitamins, minerals that we have that would benefit from getting from a supplemental source, potentially. Now, I'm not saying everything I'm about to say and everything on this list, I am not saying that you should take a vitamin for all of these things. Again, optimally try to get it in your food supply. The only true way to know if you're deficient is to get tested, right? To get a blood test. And blood tests are great. They really are. They can be really expensive, one, and you have to keep doing them, right? To make sure that if you're going to do it once to see if you're deficient in something, over time, it just makes sense that you have to do it again to see if you're making up for that deficiency. So you potentially can do that, or what may end up being cheaper, at least in the short term, is supplement with these things and listen to your body and see how you're doing. And then you can know if you are deficient in whatever that nutrient is. So first, what are the top two supplements? Top two supplements and the number one deficiencies that I think are top two supplements I think everyone should take. Every man, every woman, every child. Every single patient here in my office got these two supplements whenever you started care here in my office. And the reason isn't just because you're deficient in it, most likely, because we all are, most people are, but it's because these actually help you get better results under the care that we deliver, which is why I want you to do it for at least 1 month. I recommend you do it forever. I do. These two supplements, vitamin D, number one supplement, number one. Look up vitamin D deficiency. Again, go on the Google or go on PubMed. Look up vitamin D deficiency and cancer. Vitamin D deficiency and autoimmune diseases. Vitamin D deficiency and heart disease. Vitamin D deficiency and diabetes. You're going to find articles on every single one of those things because vitamin D is necessary for DNA synthesis. Everything in your body needs vitamin D. We need it, we need it, we need it. Most people are wholly inadequate. All right, so supplement with vitamin D. Now, if you're supplementing with vitamin D, vitamin D is best absorbed if it's taken with a probiotic. So sometimes, you'll see that on the supplement itself, vitamin D with probiotics. The ones that we have here in the office are vitamin D with probiotics. If you have a vitamin D, it doesn't have probiotics, get a probiotic and take it at the same time. You can take your vitamin D with yogurt, right? A food that has probiotics or bacteria in it. It's going to help your body to absorb it. Omegas. So the next supplement are omega fatty acids, omega-3 fatty acids. And the reason that omega-3s are so important is because they are anti-inflammatory. Omega-3 fatty acids bring down inflammation. I'm sure everybody has heard of inflammation. It's a bit of a buzzword, and rightfully so, because inflammation
Did anyone else lose audio?
Yeah.
Jason, we can't hear.
flax seeds, chia seeds, ground beef or beef in general, grass-fed beef, very high in omega-3s. But the reason we need to supplement with it is because the proper ratio of omega-3, which is anti-inflammatory, to omega-6, which is pro-inflammatory, the optimal ratio for humans is 1:1. 1:1. You have one omega-3 to every omega-6. That's the best ratio. The average American, there's a study that was shown, what is the ratio that most Americans get through their diet? And I think it's about a 40:1, omega-6 to omega-3. 40:1. That's a little far away from 1:1. So because we get so many omega-6s in our diet, we need to be able to combat that by taking a vitamin or omega supplement as well, omega-3 supplement. And I apologize, but my nose is getting really stuffy all of a sudden. You guys, yeah,
Your voice sounds like you're getting a cold.
I'm not. I think I'm just talking too loud. And it's
Shouting.
pulling all my mucus down from the sides. All right, next supplement, our next vitamin on the vitamin deficiencies is magnesium. Magnesium. So many people are deficient in magnesium and have no idea that they're deficient. And magnesium has a couple of really important things that it does for the body. Let me get to magnesium. So, and some important functions of magnesium. It helps to regulate your calcium. So a lot of people, if they're calcium deficient, meaning they have osteopenia or osteoporosis, what are they told to do? Take extra calcium. Much of the time, it's not calcium, it's magnesium. They're deficient in magnesium, which is preventing their body from using the calcium and putting the calcium into the bones. Because if you don't have enough magnesium, which is important for bones, but it's also important for ions in your blood to maintain a normal pH balance, your body will pull calcium out of the bones, put it into your bloodstream to be able to balance your pH. So really important for proper bone health. It relaxes skeletal muscles. Calcium causes muscles to contract. Magnesium allows it to relax. So you can see there's a balance. Calcium and magnesium are very important together. People are told, take calcium, and if you have too much calcium, your body might excrete magnesium. So again, that can lead to some issues. Energy production, regulates heart contractility, cleanses the bowels, and relaxes smooth muscles. So that's what vitamin or magnesium does in the body. Your best friend? All right, Colleen likes magnesium. All right, vitamin B vitamins. So,
Through the time.
oh yeah, so sleep,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Really good for sleep. Also has been shown for potentially migraines. People who get a lot of migraines may have some a magnesium issue.
My sister takes 2 different prescriptions for migraine.
Get on a magnesium, just see, magnesium, a lot of vitamins, minerals, if you were to take it and your body doesn't actually need it, what's it going to do with it? It's going to get rid of it, right? And these supplements, most of these simple nutrients are very, they're very inexpensive. So it's not that I want people to buy something and maybe they didn't need it, but if it helps them, your battery's almost dead.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we're getting close to the end. Sorry. All right, B vitamins. So there's a bunch of different B vitamins, and they do a lot of different things. So you know what? We're not going to go through everything that it does. Really important, B vitamins, very important. We are very deficient in B vitamins. Get your B vitamins. Now you can take a B vitamin in and of itself, like B vitamin, thiamine. We talked about thiamine, berry calls the soldiers to get really lethargic. So you can take just that one, a thiamine supplement, or you can take a B complex. B complexes generally are very inexpensive, so just take the B complex, get the thiamine, but get all the other B vitamins in it as well, just in case. Again, it's being prepared. If your body doesn't need it, it will get rid of it. But if your body does need it, great, you have it at that point. So I recommend a B complex over getting a B12, a B6, a B, getting the individual B vitamins. Next one, iron. A lot of people are deficient in iron, especially women can become deficient in iron. Iron is important for to carry oxygen, amongst other things. There's other things it does, but iron carries oxygen. That's why our blood is red, because our blood is rusty. Because when oxygen attaches to iron, it turns red. That's where rust comes from. I actually was just at the Franklin Institute this weekend, and I learned, which was so cool, I love learning, always a learner, that different animals have different colored blood because their body needs different minerals, which cause different colors. Like certain things have copper. They need a lot of copper in their blood, which turns their blood a greenish color. Certain other things need, forget what it is, but it turns it blue. Cobalt, I think it was, and it turns their blood blue. Really cool. Didn't know that.
Now, if you were to cut them in air hits it, does it go red like ours?
No, I don't think so. I think it stays that color. Like an octopus has blue blood. like, I don't know how blue it is, but yeah, well, yeah, I think squids are the ape, octopus's blood. And the top, so these are the top 6 deficiencies. Number 1, vitamin D. Number 2, omega. Number 3, magnesium. Number 4, B vitamins in general. Number 5 is iron. Number 6 is calcium. So a lot of people are deficient in calcium. The best source of calcium is not really dairy, though of course you can get calcium through dairy. Better sources are vegetables. And broccoli, super high in calcium. Almonds, super high in calcium. So those are some of the top nutrients, top deficiencies that, as a blanket statement, a lot of people could supplement with, especially if they think it's necessary for them to do so. I'm going to talk really quick. I'm going to keep talking until this camera runs out, until their phone runs out. It's not all that much longer, but I just want to talk about some of the roles in the body. So when you hear these, you may think, oh, that, I have, or I've noticed, maybe I should start to supplement with that. All right, vitamin D, you should do it anyway. Why? Because I told you so. And because the science supports it. Don't just do what I tell you. I'm kidding. Do what I tell you. Please do it.
Wait, Dr. Kistler, I have a question before the everything runs out.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
So
please.
would you say that, it's Courtney, by the way, would you say if you have like a multivitamin that has a lot of these minerals and like quote unquote supplements in it, is that enough if it's like a whole vitamin, like whole foods and like vegan and whatever and well sourced,
Yeah.
at least as much as you know?
I would say yes. I would say yeah, most likely for most people, especially if you are really trying nutrition. You're looking at your nutrition, you're going after these things. You're not going to get a blood test to see your deficiencies.
Right.
That taking a whole B vitamin, a good B vitamin that's non-synthetic. So this is, I'm glad we kind of went down this road. So the answer is yes. For most people, take the the multivitamin and you're good to go. Like for me, I take a multivitamin. I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna do that right now. Go over the.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, these are the supplements that personally I take. Now, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but nutrition, I'm pretty good with my nutrition. Stress management, getting adjusted. I do all of these things, but I still supplement just to give my body, make sure that I'm cover my bases. So I take a vitamin D. I do omega supplement. I do a multivitamin. I do a magnesium as well as a B complex. So I have those in there as well. They are in the multivitamin, but because those things are big deficiencies, I just want to, again, cover my bases with those as well. Now, when it comes to there's a lot of other vitamins and minerals that are in a multivitamin that are good. You're going to cover your bases just by doing the multivitamin itself. So yeah, those are the main ones that I do. Personally, also something that I do, now this is not something that I guess not everybody really needs. I do it because of adjusting. What I do is very physical. If anybody's wondering why I've started having patients, if you haven't been in the office yet, you didn't even know this, everybody's cleaning the table for themselves, is because after cleaning tables for a year now, for pretty much every single patient in the office, I'm starting to get some hip issues and some SI joint issues. It's starting to wear my body down. I can't, and it's I can't do it anymore. So I mean, I can do it, but do you want me to be in pain? Come on, people are terrible. You want me to be in pain? No. So everybody's cleaning the tables, and we provide everything for you to do so. Wow, why did I go down that road? Oh yeah, because this is why. Because I take tangent. I take a very low dose curcumin. It's another supplement that's here. This is an antioxidant supplement. So antioxidants, it's antioxidant and curcumin. It's called Daily Defense. Has a very low dose curcumin in it because, guys, actually, before we get to that, we're going to do that. Anything that we have for everybody who's either on the Zoom call, here in the office, that's, looking to gain information to be able to keep yourself healthy, 10% off of supplements for the next 2 weeks. So if there's anything in particular that you're not taking, anything that you've run out of, anything that you think that you could use, ask me any questions that you have, of course, on the side. But if there's anything that you want to get that's here in the office, 10% off of supplements over the next couple of weeks. But I'm going to stop talking right there. Does anybody have questions about anything in particular? Anybody have questions? Questions?
Hey, Jason, I have a question about the vitamin D.
Yes,
When
sir.
vitamin D, are you specifically talking about D3?
D3, great question. Yeah, so you can
Okay.
supplement with a couple different vitamin Ds, and really the big ones you're going to find are vitamin D3 or D2. Vitamin D2 is not as bioactive. So that's a really important word, is bioactive. You want to find vitamins, minerals, supplements, etc., that are more bioactive. And what that means is your body is able to use it quickly. It doesn't have to convert it into something else. So vitamin D2, our body has to convert into vitamin D3 for our body to be able to use it. And that takes energy, that takes other enzymes and cofactors, and it's just not as efficient. So why not just do the vitamin D3? So yes, vitamin D3. And that's also really important that we get non-synthetic. So this is really something I want to harp home on, is quality. You can go to CVS, you can go to Costco, and you can get these humongous things of supplements, and you think, man, I've got this big thing, it's going to last me forever, right? But what is the quality of that supplement? Why is it so cheap? It's probably so cheap because it's cheap. I'm not just using inexpensive, but it's cheap quality because it's probably synthetic. It was made in a laboratory. It's not as bioactive, meaning your body's not going to be able to use it as much. So even though if you're getting 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C from a natural source versus 1,000 milligrams that is not natural, that's synthetic, your body's going to be able to use most of this. It's not going to be able to use this. So really, you're just peeing out the money anyway, but it's just you're not going to be getting the benefit. So really make sure you're looking for natural sources. And if it's natural, it is going to be more expensive because they have to actually take the food and extract the nutrients safely because they don't want to overheat it because that can damage the nutrients. They have to extract the nutrients out of that food, and then they have to encapsulate it to be able to sell it. So it's going to cost a little more, but as I always say, we either pay for it now or pay for it later. Pay for it now and staying healthy, investing in our health, or pay for it later in our hospital bills and in sickness and disease. For me and my family, I'll pay for it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions in the digital world or in the office? All right, if you have any questions, ask me, but I'm going to touch a little bit before this dies on a couple of other supplements. So mostly what I want to talk about are vitamins and minerals because those are things our body needs. We need the vitamins and minerals. We can't survive without these vitamins and minerals. We want to give those to give our body everything that it needs.